Welcome, I'm Pedro Javier from the Connectif team. In this video, we are going to see how to create a workflow that sends an email to those users who abandon a shopping cart on the website in order to achieve conversion, that is, for those products to finally become a purchase. It should be noted that in Connectif, a cart is considered abandoned when 30 minutes have passed since the user's last interaction. That is, the last time a product was added or removed from the cart, as long as there is at least one left. To create the workflow, we will navigate to the Workflow section where we currently are and click on Create New Workflow and select Create Blank. Once in the canvas, we are going to establish the audience, that is, which users will be able to go through the strategy. To do this, we use the Start node. Within it, in the initial column, we will establish the target users, who, in this particular case, are the users possessing email addresses. And in the second column, we are going to choose existing and new users. An existing user is one who is already part of our database, and a new user is one who arrives later, with respect to when the workflow is activated. However, this is a generic strategy, therefore we are interested in both types of users being able to navigate it. Once both options have been selected, we will click on Update. The next node that we require is a trigger type, which is referred to as on-cart abandonment. We find the location of it here in this column and drag it until it is connected with the Start node. This node is designed to respond when the event of cart abandonment happens, specifically after a period of 30 minutes following the most recent interaction that took place. Additionally, we can configure it. Let's examine the options we have. It enables the addition of filters internally. Basically, I would respond to any type of abandoned cart, but in this particular case, we are going to establish that it only responds to those carts that have a value of 50 euros or more. In order to do this, we opt for the total price alternative and specify that it is greater than 50 units in value. Furthermore, we also discover it is imperative to define its limitations, which we have specified in this tabulation document. What are the limitations? It is the number of times or how often a node can function, either for the same user or for the entire database. This is defined in these three columns. The first one is in terms of the number of times, the second one is the periodicity, that is, how often, and the third one, which is the most restrictive, defines that the node can only function once per user account holder. For this strategy, our suggestion is to utilize it on a temporary basis, namely once per day, and for that purpose, we implement the modification. Once the node is configured, we click on Update. The following node that we need is the Send Email node, which can be located in the Action column of the workflow. In this node, we will lay out the email to display the user's shopping cart on the website, specifically the products that were left abandoned and that we want the user to see. How do we accomplish it? Initially, we access the node. In the first step, if we already have the email created previously, we select it, but if not, we have the option to create it from here by clicking on Create New Content. In addition to the different options that can be added, such as text, image, a PID, and email, the most important one to achieve our strategy is to use the dynamic content block. The dynamic content block is the one that allows the user's products to be displayed within the email, and for this it uses variables. Let's recall that variables are words enclosed in braces that enable the display of information provided by the user. When discussing user information, we are referring to their name, last name, and the products they have interacted with on our platform during their interactions. Additionally, this dynamic content has the potential to be modified. Let's take a look at it. Here we see that there are different templates to use. In this case, we are going to select the third one. However, this specific one has a higher degree of customization. For instance, we can include the brand variable or remove the description variable it brings, as we will see in the upcoming demonstration. Furthermore, as we move down, we can observe the structure. To what exactly is it referring? How are the products going to be distributed? For instance, at this particular moment in time, the products will be distributed in a solitary row consisting of 3 columns on a desktop computer, and in a solitary column consisting of 3 rows on the mobile device, such as a smartphone or tablet. However, we have the ability to make modifications. Let us take a look at it. In the event that we specify 2 in this location, we will be able to observe that the current maximum quantity of products to be shown is 6. And ultimately, after we have finished laying out the email in the desired manner, we proceed by clicking on the Save option to move forward with the process. Once we have selected the email we require, we proceed to the next step, which involves configuring the email. Here we are going to define the type of email that is being sent. In this first option, we choose transactional. Why? This email is not mass. It is being sent in response to an activity that the user has had on the website, and also does not include promotional content such as products related to the shopping cart or a discount code. If you were to utilize them, you would need to select a newsletter, and thus, in order to receive this kind of email, the user would have to be subscribed. Below, we are going to define the subject, that is, the sentence that the user reads in their email inbox. In this instance, we will opt for cart recovery. Here below, we have the name of the store that sends the email, the email address from which it arrives, and the email address to which they could respond in the event of a need. And ultimately, we have the option to indicate whether we want Google Analytics to track clicks in the email or not, depending on our preference. And ultimately, if we continue moving forward, we will reach the third step, which is all about variables. In this step is where we will make the products in the cart appear in the email message. How is it accomplished? In this initial column, we possess the values of the preceding nodes, specifically the contact information and the information regarding the carts that have been abandoned. While located in the right column, we have the variables, namely those words enclosed in braces that we include in the dynamic content block of the email. Now, how can we convert those variables into an image, a name, and a price in order to display them properly? We do it in the following manner. Here in the abandoned cart, we will search for the values that correspond to the variables and drag them accordingly. As an illustration, the one named corresponds to the title variable, the unit price 1 corresponds to the price variable, the image corresponds to the image 1, and the detail URL corresponds to the button URL. So once all individuals have been pulled, we have established the values that ought to be displayed. And finally, one detail is missing. This node also brings a default limitation, but in this case, since we have already provided one to the previous node, which was once a day, we are going to remove the limitation that this node brings with it, since it has already been covered. That is to say, here in limitations, we remove the one that is appreciated, and when you click finish, the node is configured. Here is the video on how to create a strategy through a workflow to send emails to those users who abandon the shopping carts on the website. If you wish to view more details such as exploring the constraints of the nodes or adjusting the duration for a cart to be classified as abandoned, feel free to click on the accompanying links for this video. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then.